I want you to imagine me in middle school. A little bit less facial hair than you see now. I skipped a grade, so at this point I was quite small. And I also didn't have a care in the world. I work in politics now, but back then my main concern was video games. In one class, we were supposed to read the news, pay attention to current events, and I barely knew that John Kerry was the presidential candidate at that time, much less anything to do about global warming or wealth inequality, the criminal justice system, or reproductive justice. But I have an older sister, 7 years older, and she's always been engaged in social justice work of all sorts. And one day when she was driving me home, she gave me the talk. You know, the pro-choice talk. I don't remember any of the details. I think I was at that age where my response was probably one word, okay. But because of that conversation, even before I really knew what a Democrat or Republican was, my first political philosophy was as a feminist. This part of my relationship with my sister wasn't a one-off. She's a queer woman of color, so she would also tell me about LGBTQ+ rights, about racial justice and other issues. She invited me to events like queer proms and the vagina monologues. She gave me books like The New Jim Crow. And it wasn't always social justice related either. We would also just play games together or go to concerts, eat food. We still do all of those things because all of them are part of our relationship with each other. And those things might all seem different, spending fun time together versus racial justice, LGBTQ rights, reproductive justice. But to me, they weren't different. It's not just that all oppressions are interconnected. It's not just the Emma Goldman quote that if I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution. But to me, all of that was related to my relationship with my sister. The fun stuff and the heavy stuff. Justice for one group of people and for another. I think in UU circles, we often spend a lot of time in our heads. And when we're thinking about things like reproductive justice, we think about all the rational reasons why it's important for people to have autonomy over their bodies, or the historical reasons, or arguments and rebuttals to people who have behaved hypocritically or inconsistently. But the thing that brought me to support reproductive justice wasn't any rational reason, though there are many. The original reason I supported reproductive justice was human connection, my relationship with my sister. There's a lot of ways to do justice work, but I try to follow the example that my sister set. Not leading with numbers and documentaries, but instead focusing on my relationship with another person. Caring for them, dancing with them, being invested in their life. Respecting their inherent worth and dignity, even if they don't know all that much about politics. And at some point, being vulnerable with them. Sharing my values and what's important to me, and why I care. Not just because of how many people are affected, but because of how I'm affected. Not asking somebody to support a movement, but asking them to support me.